All
All right.
right. We're into the first week of Draft League. We have Defend the Faith versus the legendary Critical Sunrage. And we're into draft, leading off with Brandon Melio bands. Are there anything you're really expecting to see on the ban list this week? Also, I'm Jake, MWP, and my co-caster is... go ahead and introduce yourself. Sorry.
I'm Dobby Mon filling in tonight while we're running into some other going ons and getting on into it. Absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of bot centric bans here just because of the way it goes. The draft league, of course, our diamonds and plats seem to be accentuated there. So let's see what we can come to glean from it as we go. Zeri Shen, Diana, and Cassante.
Yeah, it definitely looks like we're pinching the support pool in 80 carries. That bot lane is going to be a big turning point for this game. We have the highest ranked player I think on both teams is in the bot lane, so it's definitely going to be explosive. We got a first pick Zyra from our blue team, so again leading into the importance of that bot lane and the supports.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, Want Marriage is a Zyra one trick, so being able to get that early is pretty good. A little surprised we're not seeing the band out, but picking up the Blitzcrank. Let's see how well he's able to lay down those plants to stop that pull, but definitely going to see a lot of early game uh, aggression coming from the red side there.
Yeah, it is. That is definitely a Zyra one trick. He has over 50 games on that, and the next most played champion is only 17. So, and they banned that, which was Brand. So, of course, you're gonna pick the one trick. So, do you think that the red team has an answer for Zyra prepared here? Is it the Blitzcrank and the Maokai to answer the Zyra? Do you think that that is a uh, going to do anything to mitigate that Zyra pick?
I don't think so. If they get really lucky with the pulls and Zyra's not able to get those plants activated in time, probably. But like the Zyra wants you to be close so that she can get off that ultimate, and the Nyla there as well also wants you close, gets you in there. Being able to like ult you in, keep you close, negate those auto attack damage. So between that, the Olaf being able to ult in and run through a lot of this CC that we see coming out, like I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know if we can see it, but I'm definitely curious to see how it plays out here.
I'm real inclined to think DTF has gotten the advantage in this draft so far. We have Aurelian Soul coming out in the second round of bans into Silas. So definitely aiming to squeeze the mid lane champ pool here on both sides.
Yeah, the Silas is a smart ban. It's really good alt stealing. There's probably some other things coming out, and they do take it away from the opposite side there, who has some very good Silas players in themselves as well.
And Ivan's going to round out our bans for the red side. He has been real stompy in solo queue from what I have seen, so I'm not surprised by that. And Kindred ban, so a little bit of pressure on the jungle again from both of these teams. So mid and jungles are what you would expect from both of these. That might mean that Olaf is going top, but I don't expect that. I do think that's going to be an Olaf jungle unless we see some different picks coming out in the second half.
Well, yeah, well, going into the Graves, definitely a Maokai top. So very good on DTF to continue those jungle bans, get that jungler on something maybe he's not so comfortable on with the Graves. So pretty good. At least now we know where the Maokai is going. It makes that Olaf pick definitely seem better top now instead of going to the jungle because Olaf doesn't fare so well into Graves. And there
Yeah,
we go with the Amumu.
And that flex to top makes a lot of sense. Graves is one of the only people that has a CC that actually affects Olaf with that blind on his grenade. So it is going to feel much better into that Maokai top.
Yeah. And you can definitely see it from the side of DTF. They're trying to go almost into a wombo combo here with just being able to utilize the Olaf as like the side lane push pressure and or running it down through the CC that we see here.
Yeah, that is a lot of big AoE ultimates from DTF here. There is 4 big AoE ultimates, so they are going to be down to team fight for sure. Um,
Oh yeah.
and let's see, we expect a mid lane pick here coming for our red team. What do you think we're going to get? Oh, and there's
Oh,
Danny.
yep. That's a pretty mediocre answer into the Galio. The Galio wants to play versus those AP champions. So just being able to see that coming in, you have to have an AP answer. So the Galio is definitely really smart, just due to the Zaya Graves and the Blitzcrank and Maokai do AP damage, but it's just not like I'm not building AP carry Blitzcrank.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think this is going to be real explosive. I think both teams are going to want to fight all the time, which should be an exciting game to watch for us.
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious to see how these first 2 minutes go. Just because people, you grab the Blitzcrank, you're going to want to invade. So hopefully DTF can prepare promptly and make sure that they can 5 stack and see if they can't turn it around. They're
Yeah,
definitely going to need that because crit on Zaya is just going to be unstoppable if he can get going.
I would love to see a Galio start taunt and just 5-man stack in a bush waiting for that Blitzcrank invade. I think that's the way you deal with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then just being able to see how the game plans out. It's very hard to predict here in draft because the differential in the rank system. But if they're able just to play around their carries here, I do think that each team has a pretty equal chance to get going.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see Chubby though. Chubby Hugs is one of my boys on the operations side of the house too. So
awesome. That'll be exciting. Hopefully it does well.
yeah. Do you have any thoughts on what do you see the teams doing here going into the early to mid game?
I think you really need to use the Nyla experience advantage early game, even if that means putting an Amumu or having Galio roam early, just 3-man stacking that bot lane, take advantage of that experience advantage, make sure you're able to get her last hits, make sure you have a Zyra and a Nyla alt before you are running into a Blitzcrank or a Zaya alt, and I think it's going to really hinge on bot lane early for DTF, and I think it's going to I think that the red team here is going to need to absorb a lot of pressure that's going to be coming into that bot lane, and I think the Blitzcrank can earn his keep real early if an invade goes their way.
Yeah, reading chat right now, it looks like Nightmare's Nyla is a nightmare. So seeing that get through, maybe we can see some spicy plays and I'm looking forward to seeing a Nyla carry. You don't. It's not a common champion you get to see often. Same with the Zyra as well. But everything else looks pretty standard for competitive League of Legends going on nowadays.
Yeah, very, very regular meta picks for the rest of our lanes. I think Maokai has been an absolute staple in all of my games in so many different positions that he's kind of synonymous with League, and Annie's the cover art still, right? So very, very iconic teams here on both sides.
Yep. And then while we wait for them to get into game, we're going to take a short break, and we'll see you when the game starts.
We're into game
Hello?
number one, and we've got an invade happening right away, just like we expected. And we see the blue team, DTF, stacking up in the bush with a ward to see if they come in. It is a perfect response.
Yeah, I really
Uh,
like it. We're good to go. And we see the LCST coming through the bot side here, right on top of that ward. They didn't take the bait and they backed off. It looks like
they
they're
started with a sweeper and saw that they got spotted out. That is, I was wondering if the Zyra plant was going to give them away. I did not check to see that we had the sweeper start from the graves.
the
Uh,
sweepers start pretty smart there. Little interesting notes as we look at the runes. We see electrocute Galio, so we'll probably see maybe a more offensive build set, maybe going in that Night Harvester or Hexblade or that Hextech Rocket Belt, and then First Strike Annie. So definitely going to be looking to poke a lot here in the mid lane, trying to get that money up so she can buy some more items first. But
Already
we
got that stacking. Getting that 3 gold from auto attacks early on.
Yep, and as we hear look in the bot, we see the Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank pulls the Nyla, goes right in, and then the Zaya is autoing. We've got the exhaust coming down and the flash coming out. Being able to survive right there for the Nyla, very good. But we're not backing off because then the lane would be over. So
The Dorn shield definitely paying off big there. I do not think that Nyla would have survived if you'd taken a Doran's blade or a longsword.
yeah, very smart. Based off a Nightmare right there. Down that Summoner though in the early level 2 on the side of the LCST. Because that is a long name. That's what they're called for the rest of the night.
Long name.
Yeah, and Blitzcrank missing out that other pull, being a little aggro right now.
Oh,
And into
we
a
got the
pull.
Neela going back in, getting some chunk damage. Cleanse coming out on the Zaya, and no summoners on the side. Oh no, we do see an ignite down from the Zaya. Or the Zyra, sorry.
Yeah, Zyra got the ignite out. This is what forced the cleanse there, which really good. You don't want to give any opening up to Nyla to get that lead started. But we see the Graves in the bot side jungle here, probably going to rotate down, get that level when that level 3 happens. And the lack of summoners means easy gank opportunity. And there's nothing else coming up except that scuttle, so we'll see what happens here. But going through the other lanes, we have top lane and mid lane advantages in terms of CS. The Chubbies there is able to farm very well versus that ranged Annie, which is kind of surprising. Let's see how well you can keep it up. And
Yeah, that
complete.
magic damage shield doing a lot of work for Galio to absorb the pressure. He's got a rough time farming ahead of him, I'd expect, but Annie will just do more damage as time goes on. Takes her a little bit to come online, especially with first strike, but that's what the extra gold is for.
Yep, it looks like we got some partying in the mid lane here as the Amumu comes for a gank and the Graves is ready for a
Graves is
counter.
perfectly positioned for this counter gank, but they are going to play that very carefully. Graves doesn't show and just backs off to go farm the bot side. Maybe gank bot lane,
Yep.
but he is definitely spotted out, so I think he'll just clear vision, and DTF's going to just safely walk away from this.
Yeah,
Or
we
will they?
see
Because base
Graves
checks the
coming in.
Graves. The auto cancel damage from the Neela's big,
Damn,
and
first blood on the
not enough.
Graves.
Yep. That is a feels good moment on the Graves. There's no assist from the bot lane, and the Olaf answers in the top with an excellent flash out from the Mummy to get him out safe. I thought he was dead for sure.
Yep, that was a very good cross map play. It was definitely needed. You want to get that Olaf online because you see the beefy front line of the LCST here on red side, but Olaf level 6 just runs in and does not care. And as long as he can get to that back line and take out Crick, mission success. And being able to get online early there, definitely conducive to that.
I think it's going to be a good lane from her that Olaf. He still hasn't backed yet. He's going to be up a kill and probably 15 to 20 CS if he gets all of this farm. So he is looking happy with the freeze here too.
Yeah, and we see level sixes coming out of the mid lane, so wherever we can get that Galio to affect the side lanes, definitely should be walking topside if he has the gold. But Olaf here being able to pop his six, chase down the Maokai, but some items versus no items, and Graves comes to counter gank and answer, see if he can't return it.
And he's already used his ult, so he is going to get CC'd by that Maokai, and we've got a return kill with the overstay from that Olaf. If he had just backed, he would have been up at least 300-400 gold, but now he's going to come back to lane with not much more than Maokai, assuming the Maokai gets back in. And that Graves is going to be very big. You can see he's already got a shutdown. And the strongest early item in the game, which is that Dirk.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of power in that item, but you see it also on the side of DTF here with their with that Nyla, and we do see a more aggressive AP style coming out of the Galio as well. I'm gonna have to assume he's gonna get that Everfrost though, just because Ludens and Leandries aren't gonna synergize well with that kit.
Yeah,
But
Everfrost would make a lot of sense. They are a little lacking in the CC department after the Mummy ult and Zyra ults are down, so that would make a good addition. We get a flash out of the Galio, but it doesn't matter with Tibbers and the Graves ultimate spelling his death. And we got more action right in the bot lane. The Feather Pillar goes down it with the early ult from the Zyra. That Neela passive getting extra levels in is doing work. It gives them a window to get that answering kill in the bot lane.
yeah, very good there. Able to get that kill off, which kept Crit down from getting his six. If they're able to trade the kills there, Crit hit six and is able to live through that. So very good, and absolutely with that Nyla passive getting six on the Zyra, forcing the flash out of Blitzcrank. But that, as far as bad as it looks down in the bot lane, it's going good. Gasha is able to start that jungle gap between him and the shells on a Mumu, and we see a lot of power coming out. Some Bear able to see Sealock long enough on the Chubby, and we're seeing the game slow down at about a 700 gold lead for the side of the LCST here. But we got a roam going bot side as Amumu and Galio both have their ultimates, and no summoners on that bot lane.
Have a Neela ultimate too, and I don't know if we needed the Galio ult there, but he wants that assist gold.
Absolute overkill, but it's about sending a message, and the message is
Crit's not allowed to play.
Absolutely, and it transitions very well into their into going for the dragon, but we're kind of overzealous here as Nightmare on Nyla.
Yeah,
Just
they
staying
did
for that
not
plate.
pick which advantage they wanted to keep, and they go for both the plate and the dragon, and we see they do get the dragon, at least. But that was very close. That was double-digit HP, and it looks like Annie and Graves might do a lot of cleanup. Nope, Graves goes down, and we're seeing that Zyra one-trick pay off. It is worth giving him his pick. He is 3-0. On that
3 and
support
0,
Zyra.
definitely going the full AP carry Zyra build there. Getting that 700 gold shutdown is definitely going to give him that early game Leandries, because he needs that gold to get ahead, or else that pick just falls behind. So being able to get online sooner, especially as bot lane is winning, at least in terms of the kill department, we got to focus on Nightmare CS here a little bit. But other than that, they're doing pretty good here.
Yeah, the Nyla pick, you are short range, but getting those last hits is so important because you are almost a second support, because you are just focused on getting that XP for your lane partner, and this Zyra one trick is worth putting those eggs in.
Yeah.
You can see he's got double buffs, and he is definitely enabling that Nyla to farm much safer than the start of this lane. We see Graves positioning for this early Herald, just a little bit after it spawns, and doesn't look like he's being spotted out. Amumu is spotted doing his own blue buff. But we've got some action happening here with Maokai collapsing. I think they're just going to give this over, though. Yep,
Yeah.
that is all gashes.
Yeah, they had the first rotation. They put down that pink ward in the top side of blue jungle to get that early vision to see where that Amima was, and Killer Rage was able to get that wave advantage pushing in onto the plea in the top side. So he got first rotation there. As a movement, you don't want to run in 2v1 versus all that, especially since Graves is the first person in with a mythic right now.
Yep, and Galio's ultimate was down from the overkill bot lane, so he wasn't going to be able to follow even if he was in range. So we're looking at a big jungle diff there. That's a 13 CS or a 15 CS gap almost, and 5 kills. But the tank mummy doesn't need all of that to be impactful. So it's gonna come down to the items versus team utility, and I don't know where the next fight's gonna be here. Let's see. Next objective we have coming up is gonna be another dragon.
Yeah, we got a dragon coming up in 2 minutes, but don't let that the even score line of that gold there as the Mumu goes in with a flash ult, locking him down so Chubby can secure that kill on that Annie. But that gold lead, don't let it confuse you. That Graves is easily 2,000 gold ahead of that Mumu, even with that gank payoff. Just by the number of items alone, and then being able to get that magical footwear is 300 free gold you don't have to spend, so you're able to
Yeah.
free up a lot of your inventory space there.
He's gonna be zipping around the map with that mythic he's got, and you can see he's just drive-by ganking mid lane, casually chunking out a few hundred HP as he is not even gonna hang around.
Yeah, he sees his top lane needing some help, so just moving up there as long as and is perfect timing that scuttle spawns. So just being able to deny that extra source of income from the Amumu all game as we see the Annie rotate bot side. Looks like we're gonna set up a gank here, but DTF might be reading it. We saw the Galio hovering that side of the map as well.
Oh, that Zyra damage is explosive. And I can't believe Zaya lives through that there. The ultimate from Nyla just wasn't quite enough to seal that.
Yeah, the Nyla playing hyper aggressive there, but the really good cleanse to negate that burn damage coming out of that ignite from Want Marriage. As Olaf burns his ult and goes in topside, being able to get the flash out of Killer Rage there, but Amumu's walking in, face first into
He
the
is found a Graves, and he wants
ah
that smoke. That is a dead Graves, and that is a big shutdown going over to the way of DTF.
yeah, absolute perfect timing. Just as soon as the dragon spawns as well, and just being able to create that advantage. It looks like the advantages are going all sides of the map way of DTF.
Yep, this is second dragon at 14 minutes, 20 minutes. They should be on soul point if they keep this up. And that big gold lead on Graves is double-edged sword. If Graves dies, you can't do anything into the other team because he has all of your gold.
Yeah, but I would love to see how it works out for them. They're gonna have to do the same thing on the Zyra. You take out Want Marriage's ability to output all that damage, and you have a fair chance at winning that team fight as well. But biggest issue is that the Zyra just really oppressive, especially with that lead she has. Even
Yeah,
when she
that
dies,
is
able to output damage.
a full mythic on the Zyra. And even if you get her, you have to kill her and keep her CC'd for so long that she can't even press R in one combination of buttons. because then she will just do. It's like a brand. You can't let someone alone. You can't overcommit to killing her, because then if you do, you leave your whole team chunked out. Um, but it is definitely in that bot lane, whereas this Graves has been able to move around the map, keep the Amumu from farming too much. We see a full level lead on that Graves, and that's only going to get bigger as this time goes on.
Yeah, but the Amumu's not idle as well. 106 on his scoreline there. In many of those kills outside of the solos we saw on the top side, but like he's not idly standing. He's down there around, able to keep those objectives coming, and we see the
Man, one
power of
rotation from
Zyra.
Zyra, half healthing that Blitzcrank. And the hook is down, so now she can play really aggressive.
Yep, we see the Galio rotating, but the Annie is answering, and very
Galio's gonna
very
face check into this Fed Gasha. This is not. Oh, flash out is gonna make that Galio is just fine. That does mean that we should see Nightmare and Want Marriage backing off from this, or they are going to get 4-man dove underneath this turret.
well.
Amumu has committed to staying topside, and Galio has committed to backing. So we are gonna see a 2v4 right here.
Well, they
And
are just sitting on vision right there, and Chubby come down with the
oh
oh
my goodness, that teleport back from the Galio was great time. I thought he was going to swing that for a second. It goes better than I expected. A 2 for 2 in a 4v 3. When you down a man, you get the cross map, you get the red buff away from their jungler, and you get a Shelly that you can use to take first turret, hopefully, because they held on to it.
yeah.
I think that is a worth trade. I did not think that would go DTF way at all.
Well, it briefs well, but the Zaya is the one that got that shut down, so that's an extra 400 gold into her pocket on top of the 300. So, and then just running in after Graves with 2 items afterwards is also very dangerous. That they're trying to keep Nightmare down, and denying him that experience from that dive is really good there, and getting that shutdown definitely worth. They did botch it. They lost 2, but net gain all around for the side of the LCS team.
Yeah, there was definitely a big shutdown onto that Zyra. And going into the important hyper carries pockets, you can see she came back to lane with the Storm Razor and a BF sword, presumably on her way to either IE or a Gale Force.
Yeah, we got the next dragon popping up in less than a minute, so we'll see how the team fight looks, knowing that there are less summoner spells on the side of DTF. Excuse me, there's a frog in my throat.
And another important detail is Maokai is going to have the unsealed teleport. This Olaf has a ghost, so he may be winning lane and he may be able to get a tier 2 if Maokai teleports and leaves him alone, but they would be trading tier 2 for a 5-man dragon fight.
Well, I would take that every time on the side of DTF. Like, it's the first dragon.
Absolutely. It is Red Team's first dragon. We can afford to give one away. We'll make sure this Olaf is getting a 2-level lead and several thousand gold at this point. That is a 30 farm difference and soon to be 2 turret difference
But
for the price of 1 dragon.
But to not contest, I think, is an opportunity wasted.
Yeah, you're just giving away this dive for free. They do get spotted out, and LCST is going to back away from that dive. I think they could have pushed it. I think they could have fought there. Galio could have ulted in, but he was still pretty far away. I
Yeah,
think that you could have gotten more than just 1 dragon for giving away all of that damage on your tier 2 to that Olaf.
yeah. If anything, the Olaf could have rotated mid and pushed that down. He could have just went straight for the tower. He's letting the Maokai influence that side lane a lot more than he should. But we see Gasha and Graves heading up towards the top side as well, probably to gank the Olaf. But his summoners are coming back up, and he's got his ultimate.
That is a big Olaf, but he turned off of that Graves there. He lost vision when the Graves went into the bush, and Graves survives it, and they get a kill there. So that's pretty significant shutdown as well. And we're not seeing them get anything cross map here. Amumu's getting a little damage on Annie, but oh, the Blitzcrank hooks the Galio, and that is almost certainly a dead Galio. I do not think that is a stopwatch that you wanted to use, but it does get the Xayah ult out, and this after fight is going real well for a second, but then it wasn't. Xayah just keeps shooting those feathers out, and this is really going the way of LCST here. Flash
Yeah.
over the wall, feather pull, and that's a dead Zyra.
Yeah, absolutely. But trading those kills just to get that, the summoners just to get that kill. It seems a little aggro, especially since you were going to be able to chase them down. The Cloud Dragon map change just makes it very easy to do that, especially with the Blitzcrank W there. But the fact that you are now ahead on Xayah, yes, you have the ultimate, but that flash is still very critical to keeping you alive, and then losing that for the next team fight could prove detrimental if decided DTF goes for any big plays.
Yeah, I do want to talk about builds here. It looks like Annie is not even building Zhonya's second, so that stopwatch is going to stay broken for a long time. Galio might be building Zhonya's second, but I do think that we're going to have more buttons available for that Galio soon, and we do see a lot of vision priority for DTF around this Baron, but we do see a lot of people grouping up mid for the LCST, and I think that they win that fight by a lot because Amumu and Galio are not anywhere near.
Yeah, but Galio's got his level 2 ultimate. He's able to affect the mid lane from the side lane now. But like you said, the Amumu not being there definitely going to be detrimental. But the LCST's got to be very cognizant of the fact that having a Zyra means they could definitely take that Dragon Baron very fast. Just make all those plants, being able to shred through, doing that percent health damage with the Leandries makes it very, very easy. Not Heimer turret easy, but close enough.
It is real great for just shredding through that Baron. The damage from the Mythic, and we've seen engage here from the Amumu, Cursed Sad Mummy, and Graves is gonna just shred through that Olaf. The Galio ult comes in, and we have Galio getting a 4-man taunt with a huge Neela ult. The Xayah is going down. The Zyra is murdering everyone, and Annie is still alive here. Tibbers doing some work. Amumu and Zyra still up. I think they're going to get out safe, and we have a 4-for-3 going the way of DTF. It really looked like Graves had a pick on that Olaf, but that team fight... Oh, we have Amumu going back in. That was a little ambitious.
Yeah, very ambitious. And right there, I talked about it earlier. Crit not having that flash just for the sake of securing a kill away from his teammates. Killing that Zyra earlier, definitely not worth it. If he had that flash there, he would have lived. Being able to put more damage and transitioning that into one of the 2 objectives that are now up.
Leading into this dragon, it looks like everybody's R button is going to be down besides Graves, Blitzcrank, and the Zyra. Oh, Mummy has his, and Olaf has roamed this time, so I think this is going to go... Oh, Crit might be real cut out here. Nope, we do not see them engage. I really expected a go button.
No, but what was really good about it was they burned the Maokai teleport, forced him down there so he can't affect that side lane, which will create a slow push up there and being able to push down that tower. So we'll see how this goes. The more time that is wasted, the better this is for DTF because the Galio ult is the longest cooldown in the game here.
Yep, we see Tibbers up. We're going to see Feather Pull or Featherstorm up here. The Galio ult's up in just a few seconds. And this is going to be sole point for DTF. I would like to see him fight for this. Oh, that lands. Oh, that is a big knockup. The crit is dead immediately on that Zaya. We see an all-in from this Neela. We see a clean sweep here. Graves is still alive with all of his gold, but the rest of his team is dead, and that is gotta be, yep, that is soul point going over to
Ooh,
DTF, and oh, Nightmare goes down. Graves is doing some work on the backside of this fight, but he is going to go down as well, meaning we've got a 4 for 3 again, and the objective goes to DTF. So we see that lead slowly growing.
yeah, smart play from Gasha there on Graves, being able to take out those two players, probably saving his team there. Uh, with
Yeah,
Nyla and Galio still up, Baron would very well be on the table, but being able to trade 2 for 1 there after that dragon is extremely smart. Good playmaking from him. And it's up to him to keep this game going. You see the gold evenly distributed among the side of DTF. Very good carry potential from any one of those three, but Crit having to be taken out of team fights for 2 seconds while his ultimate keeps him alive and not able to output damage means that Graves is the only one to do something. At least currently, unless this game scales, but I'm not looking too good for the side of the LCST here.
yeah, it is definitely looking a lot better for DTF. And we do see them getting a lot of vision priority here leading into this Baron. There's still vision in the pit for the LCST, but they are having to fight here just to get wards and control vision in the river bush, and they can't even make it to the pixel bush. They throw a ward over the wall and they can't even see that because that's how well DTF has this vision control lockdown. That hook could have been huge.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. But it would have been the go button for the side of DTF. They're able to rotate very fast, and Nyla get pulled, will immediately ultimate, place down her negation field, and just basically
press
buy her team
W,
time.
prevent both of your big damage sources from being able to auto attack, and by then Namumu and Graves have run from their place and Galio's teleported in. Yeah, Neela is one of the best people to get hooked, short of the mummy himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're setting up like a death bush here. But being able to just ward on the other side of that basically stops them from succeeding there. But we see the Galio on first rotation. Maokai is finally falling back, but we still don't have any towers taken on the side of the LCST. So
That
there's all
is.
this gold sitting on the map. Where do you think they should focus their ire here?
I think you really have to focus top lane and mid lane just because you can't focus anywhere else. If you try and put anyone bot lane besides Maokai, the DFT will just do Baron. You see Flash coming out of Zyra to avoid that engage. Amumu is getting chunked out by this Graves. The Maokai ult is going to cover 3 people, but the Neela and Zyra ults are going to kill a lot of people. You see Galio hitting the Everfrost and taunt, and Olaf is just eating through this whole team. He's going to turn around, and I think Graves is going to get out here just fine. But I really think that we can see a Baron attempt, or at least force Gasha to face check a Baron
Yeah.
to get an extra kill, maybe lead into a Baron itself. But I think that we're not going to see that. We're going to see them just shove this down mid lane.
Yeah, very good team fight on the side of DTF. Able to only lose 2 there. Uh, being able to just keep this gold lead, but we see Galio almost burning his flashes to stay alive. That's the power of that lethality Graves, and with that black cleaver, you're just able to sunder right through all the armor that they're going to be able to build. But we're looking at a lot of summoners and ultimates down for both sides as we go into the next dragon fight here in about 30 seconds.
And I think DTF has the right idea. Give up a second dragon for a Baron because you really would rather leave that as a Cloud Dragon so that you're not ever risking a coin flip on an Elder Drag. Because a Graves and an Annie and a Zaya with an Elder Drag can pop off and can win fights. But not only are they going to get the Baron, I think they might get back here to contest this dragon. Blitzcrank Hook goes wide, and they are face checking into a lot of vision control, so this is a little dangerous. I think you might be better off just pushing mid with your Baron buff, but we see them engage, and they're going to mourn this dragon. The Mummy ult comes down, the Galio ult comes down, the Zyra ult comes down, and the red team is getting shredded, but Graves is just eating people. He takes down the Nyla, he takes down the Mumu, he takes down the Zyra, he takes down the Galio. He just keeps going, and that Olaf doesn't have flash. He is dead to rights here. He's going to take one back, but that Graves gets a quadra kill and a big shutdown on that Olaf.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, then that is their game plan. Peel for the Graves, let him shred right through, and you see it working out right there. Able to clean up that fight all by himself, and beautiful play there. We saw that the Galio was kept off a team fight. Yeah, he got the ultimate, but he wasn't able to justice push down in there, knocking those team up.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of overlapped CC, which was actually a big problem. You saw the Amumu ult go, you saw the Galio ult go, and while they were still knocked up by Galio, the Zyra ult knockup hit everyone as well. So you see everyone press their go buttons, and it looks good for a couple of seconds, but no one got that Graves, who is now level 17. He is higher level than 3 of the solo laners in this game. Only Olaf is beating him out. So if you don't get the Graves with those 3 big R buttons, you're going to have a big problem. He is all of that gold advantage, and you see it pay off.
At 15 and 5, you're looking full build items right there. You see 60k on the red side. At least 20 of that's got to be Graves. So on the side of DTF, if you take out Graves, you're taking out a third of the enemy team's gold. And if you're able to do that, you're going to be able to translate and win these team fights. But as we see now, they're not giving them an opportunity. They're going to want to use this as best as possible.
Yeah, and Olaf just goes straight down. The R button does a lot to prevent CC, but it does not stop Graves damage. And that is a full build Graves at this point. You can see the answering call here is to pick up mid lane. But Nyla goes down immediately. The Zyra ult covers a big portion of the team. The Mumu ult covers a big portion of the team, but it does not matter.
I think this might be
just
game.
Goes through the whole team like they're paper.
Yeah, Nyla getting hit by that Blitzcrank pull with flash up. That's a mistake that you can't afford. You got 30 seconds on everyone, 15 on Olaf.
Game. Tibbers tanks this. Yeah, this is nothing. The Maokai doesn't care about 2 turrets. This is game. Yeah. I don't think Olaf can kill anyone here. Gashi will just take the turrets and then take the Olaf if he tries to fight it.
Yeah. And then looking into the next game here, we'll be able to come right back in on that after this short break.
All right, I am your host, and I got here late, but I'm here now. I am Willie, and of course, you know my casters here. They just casted game one, Dobby and Jake. Now, I want to talk a little bit about not the drafts, not the mechanics, and I won't even gush too much about Gasha. He did solo carry that game, but we'll put that on the back burner a little bit. What I want to talk about is the awareness happening in these games because I think that these teams' awareness is going to be what ends up uh, giving one team the advantage over the other. And I've got a few points to talk about a little bit. The first thing I mean by awareness is that level one, that level two skirmish between the marksmen. You guys saw that, right? The Blitzcrank hook. They
Oh
got the
yeah,
chunk
absolutely.
out, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
then
cost a lot of early pressure and farm for that Nila.
that's true. But then on the other hand, you got that Zaya on the red side. She also actually got poked out a little bit by the Zyra. And I think that goes to show on both sides that there's a little bit of awareness that needs to be worked on there. Like you should know that Blitzcrank is going to go for that level one hook. You should play accordingly, try to avoid it, or walk up with your minions to avoid that, or fight in your wave, right? But
Yeah.
on the other hand, when you get that health advantage on the red side on that Zaya, you need to keep it. If you get poked out like that, the health advantage goes away. It's pretty much back to even, right? And
Mhm.
there's actually a few more examples later on in the game I want to talk about because I really think that the awareness on both sides is lacking, and whichever team um, just works on it and brings it up to speed is going to take the series home, regardless of this game one outcome. The second point I want to bring up is there was a fight in the bot lane, right? There was a 2v4 dive that happened on the bot lane. Now, on the one hand, the top side for DTF was aware there that their bot lane was getting dove, so they should do something top, right? So they got that Rift Herald, and that was really important to get their Olaf a really nice big lead, right? But on the other hand, after Galio backed, I noticed that he still had teleport for a long time. He took a long time to react to that play happening bot. I think if he teleports a lot earlier, they could have maybe wiped them in a 2v4, turning that into a 4 for 2 maybe instead of a 2 for 2. Do you guys agree with me?
Absolutely, that Galio TP came in really late.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it
exactly what
looks
I was
like he was
thinking.
holding on to it as a reaction instead of being proactive with that spell. Most people don't look as a teleport as an offensive summoner, but using the right settings, like you're saying, he could have definitely turned it around. And on top of that, you that as that play developed, you saw a lot of that awareness leaving the side of DTF. Um, they're not concerned at that point. Graves at that point had his collector. He was already at two items as he was doing it, and they
Mhm.
ran into him as the play was ending. Instead of a 2 for 1, it's now a 2 for 2.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I noticed that Graves had a two items completed before Amumu even finished his first item, and that actually brings me straight into my third point, the awareness on the jungler side. Now, Graves is a really good carry jungler, and Gosha had a very good performance here, ending the game full build, level 18, just a huge amount of damage output, but his awareness is lacking too, in my opinion, and I might get a little bit of flack for this, but when you're two items and the enemy jungler doesn't have a single item completed yet, you need to be invading. You need to be putting pressure on them, taking their camps away. When you're that far ahead, you should punish the enemy player for not being able to respond. And maybe that has a little bit to do with just that it's amateur, right? You don't want to make any mistakes, and I get that. On the blue side, the lanes were doing pretty well for a while, so you don't want to invade at the wrong time, get collapsed on, and give away a shutdown. But at the same time, you've got to be doing something with a lead. He had a 2K gold lead, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. But you've got to be taking camps away from the enemy jungler when you have a lead like that, right? So that is what I am looking for heading into the rest of the series is just using the knowledge, the situational awareness, and the awareness of the game state. But let's move on from that and let's talk about drafting. Is there anything that you guys want to see pulled out coming into this game too? Do you want to see Gosha on a carry jungler again and try to solo carry because he really had a nice performance this game, even with everything I said? Do you think anything else is going to change between the teams? You go first, Dobby. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I definitely see some changes coming out of from both drafts here. We had some throwaways from the last game. I definitely think that Graves is going to be a point of contention, and so with that, especially since the Gasha, I believe LCST is also advocating for red side this time since loser gets to pick. So Chubby Hubs, DST staying blue.
Mhm.
And then Gasha, definitely want to see him on some more carry style stuff because it looks like the team did very well when they were enabling him instead of playing around the other lanes. But on the opposite side, I really want to see something else come out of it. The Nyla works good in theory, but just wasn't surviving long enough to deal anything. So getting a different pick around there, probably something more hyper carry focused, since that's where they were playing around with the Amumu setup, the Zyra and the Galio alts. Just let's see a more hyper carry centric bot lane there and a more carry centric bot lane jungle from the side of the LCSTs because I do anticipate Graves being banned.
Yeah, and I think I want to bring back the awareness thing again because I think that if they piled on that Gosha on their jungler there in team fights, they could have had a lot more success and maybe potentially won this game. But we are now heading into draft, and I'll let my casters take over from here.
Yep, and here we go. We see the same two bands starting off on the side of DST with the Milio and the Zeri. But it looks like the LCST is also doing the same things. It's really weird that we're not seeing any transitions and different
I'm
choices.
wondering if we're gonna get a Graves pick here out of the DTF, but it is uh, it seems like I would answer what happened in the pick and ban with changing the pick and ban in the second game. But we see the opening with Zyra. I do like the Zyra. I think it was a good pick. I think it did its job in that game. I think that it does need a different pairing in the bot lane. The Neela just was not working out for it, and I think that I'd like to see some less utility on the side of DTF because you had all of those big ultimates, but you only really had the Zyra and the Olaf who were doing big damages.
Yeah.
And if those two people weren't there, then what's the point of all your lockdown? And we saw what happens when they weren't, when the Graves wasn't hit with the lockdown and ate the whole team. So we do see some answers here. The Zaya is a hyper carry, exactly what you talked about. And I think that is a good pick. And we see another hyper carry with the Aurelian Soul. So they're picking more damage threats, which I also really like. So we see some answers coming out from DTF here. More or less the same thing with a big tank top and Blitzcrank, and then we got an 80 carry pick with the Tristana.
Yep.
Um,
At first, I thought we were going to get the salty run back here from both teams, but it looks like LCST knew something wasn't working, so they got rid of that. Instead of going for that Maokai, they went that Ornn to get that scaling going for that team because that was a long game, and I think they anticipate this game being long as well. So just being able to outscale the opponent, very smart, especially when you see the Reliant Soul here. Just being able to have an answer in those Ornn items will definitely help that out. It's a lot of free gold going into the side of the LCST here, and you do see that Graves band. Very good, very smart, and I'd like to see another carry jungler band as well.
I
Just
am expecting another Kindred ban. I don't think they're gonna let Gasha get his hands on another carry jungler that is meta.
yeah, you see a lot of good kindred stuff coming in, but I
Yep,
yep, there it
same ban
goes.
as last time.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's gonna pull out here. If anything, I would love to see a Fizz pick here. Fizz is just a really good hard counter into A Soul, and just it would
It
definitely spice up this
really
game.
makes Aurelion Sol's life pretty miserable because he just wants to farm and get stacks, and Fizz can really all in you starting at about level 3, if not level 2. Syndra's another good matchup. She'll scale really well, and until Aurelion Sol outranges the entire game, she should be able to keep up with him in terms of damage, but there is a never ending cap to A Soul scaling where Syndra kind of hits 6 items and is done.
But what's really good here is we're definitely getting that jungle counter pick. They're definitely like, okay, Gasha, you're the carry. We're playing around you. So we're gonna set you up for success, and we're going to make sure that we have a team built around you. So we see Gwen as a good answer to Ornn. Gwen is a very good answer to almost all of this. With her negation field, she's gonna be able to make sure that she's not the reason why she's getting picked off from the Blitzcrank, able to stop the knockups coming out of Ornn or the stun from Syndra. So Wukong, very good team fight. It looks like they're going extremely more team fight centric instead of a front to back instead of a wombo combo here from the side of DTF as well.
Yeah, I think that'll go a lot better. The Evelyn Wukong matchup is very interesting. It's definitely a great carry jungler. I really like Evelyn and the current meta. I think she has a lot to offer a team. But there's a lot of burst damage, meaning the Syndra is their only sustained damage, which is not that much of a concern because no one on the DTF team is going to be super tanky. We don't have a tank support. We don't have a tank top laner. We don't even have an AP Galio in the mid lane. We have an Aurelion Soul. So Evelyn should have a happy time with all of those targets.
Yeah. I definitely think that the Evelyn's gonna be camping hard in the mid lane.
Yeah,
Uh,
keeping that dragon down is a big important deal.
yeah, and it's just the nature of the other of the side lanes. Yes, there are opportunities to gank them, but in the early game, you're gonna stay to the bot side of the map. You're not gonna want to fight at with an Ornn against a Gwen, but having that pick potential from the Blitzcrank and just being able to get that stun set up from the Syndra onto the Asol, yeah, I just see him living in mid lane, especially post 6, while the Aurelion Soul isn't as mobile yet, and then the Avalanche is just going to run around the map. Hopefully, Deshel's here on Wukong is able to get something going for his team, but again, we have an assassin carry versus a more uniform, I guess you could say, jungler.
Yeah, I think that Evelyn has a lot of good targets. She's going to be mostly unaffected by Gwen. She's going to be able to get on top of the dragon. She's going to be able to, effectively put pressure anywhere she chooses to. I think the Wukong's a little bit more limited again to mid or bot lane. The Gwen does a lot of damage, but Ornn's real tanky and has a decent amount of mobility, and you only have at most 2 charges of your ultimate to CC him. I think that means that we're going to see him forced into making plays mid and bot side again, which means Evelyn has an easy time. They only have to ward a couple of approaches, and then Evelyn is the perfect counter ganker. It is a really strong matchup into Wukong.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. And just being able to see, I really want to see. We already know what Evelyn plans to do for this game. I really want to see what the Wukong is going to do. Is he going to go topside versus an Ornn, knowing his Q can shred some of that armor? Is he going to counter gank a lot, keeping that Aesol from drowning? Or is he going to focus bot side and see if he can't get Nightmare to Uzi status? But those are questions better answered for the game coming up, and we'll make sure to get with you as soon as they're loaded in.
got another level 1 with Blitzcrank here, so I would expect another answering invade, and we see the early ward, and we see Graves with or Evelyn with no sweeper this time, so they will not know they have been spotted out.
Yep, I'm really looking forward to this level 1. I definitely want to see this early cheese coming in from both sides. Definitely, I mean, it's rough to know that the game is decided at level 1, but it looks like the side of the LSCT is just going to roam together, thinking that they have been invaded, uh, which is a common defense mechanism against the Blitzcrank composition. But it looks like the players are just going to start heading to the normal starting positions now. But definitely, Wiley was definitely talking about that early game awareness there, and just being able to understand that Blitzcrank is going to be there. How do you think they're going to differ this time? Do you think they're going to walk through it, or do you think they're going to
I think they're gonna respect it because it's the Blitzcrank. They've been very respectful of what he can do level 1 before laning. It's the level 1 in lane that we didn't see respect for. And I think we're seeing some changes there. We see them playing behind their minions level 1. We don't see them stepping up when the minions are going down, making that Blitzcrank job easy. This time they're gonna make it hard on him.
Yep, and we see Sunbear pushing down on the Chubby pretty hard. We also see that the jungle pace is definitely faster on the side of LST, as we see all of the early game aggression first blood going on the side of the LCST.
That
Probably
is
getting
a
this second.
lot of pain early on. That Tristana jump in, and we have lethal tempo, so it's not press the attack. It's not quite as damage heavy as Hail of Blades, but it is enough to bring down that Xayah with the Blitzcrank Ignite, and a cleanse for the exhaust.
Yeah, really curious to see a Nightmare not bringing out a different summoner spell here, but
Yeah.
knowing that he's going to be ignited on the side of the
If you're
Blitzcrank.
going to run Ghost in this lane, you have to play safer than that.
Yeah, you saw his immediate flash, but the knockout still came up from the side of Blitz with that level 2 E. But that's not something you want. You don't want that hyper carry Tristana getting an early game lead on you. But at least the wave state was advantageous for him. But
Yeah,
no summoner.
Means that he's not going to lose a whole lot of farm. Tristana's going to push in, and so they don't get that perfect crash. But it's looking rough early game again for this DTF bot lane.
Yeah. And just the speed of clear on that Evelyn there, able to get to that bot side, and very smart on DFT to back off early, not overstay their welcome, and not be prone to that gank, because Gasha was lying and waiting. But here we go, seeing him come into mid lane with Chubby really low.
Ooh, he's gonna finish his back though. He's not gonna dive that, I don't think. Oh, he cancels his back. He gets spotted by the minion wave because he's not level 6 yet.
No, but it looks like Zyrus coming up to answer, or at least protect him on the move, try and spot him out, but not seeing anything. Going back to the bot lane, trying not to keep Nightmare in a Nightmare 2v1 scenario. But
yep, we do see the Evelyn not get spotted there on Krug, so Wukong is losing farm here. Ganking mid, just trying to make sure Aurelion Sol can get his farm and scale up. So we are seeing pressure from the Evelyn doing things to get an advantage in the jungle, experience and gold wise. We have the invade being answered here with Wukong. Syndra's roaming down from the mid lane.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, early game pressure on red side here. They're just completely controlling. We were talking about the invade abilities last in between the games here, and you see Gosh is like, yep, I listened, and here I go trying to keep that pressure up. Now that he's got those winning lanes, but it's not looking so good here on the side of DTF. I gave them the draft advantage, but they're not playing to the strength of that composition very well, especially after giving away that first blood.
Yeah, I definitely think the early game should almost always go the way of the LCST here because of how many really well scaling champions you have on DTF. So it is a 1K gold lead early on at 6 minutes, which is not insignificant. But Aurelion Sol and Gwen are and even Zaya to a lesser extent are going to scale better with gold than most of their counterparts. The only one who's going to uh, really patch over some of the scaling problems is going to be that late game Ornn with his items for the whole team to give them that extra stat line.
Yep.
But I think that we would expect a lead, and this is more of a lead than I'd expect. So I do think that the LCST is in a really good spot leading into
Yeah.
this.
But you're absolutely right. They had a lot of good things going for them. Last game they were behind gold, even with the fact that that Graves was at 20K by the end of it. But here we see that advantage, and that gold is now on your hyper carry and Tristana. The bot lane matchup is definitely
Oh,
going
that
more
dragon
similar.
might be dead.
Yeah, and
And he is
Gosh
gonna
is just
stay to
trying to
clear
get the
this ward.
yeah. Gosh really wants to hit 6, being able to get that very fast so he can open it up. You don't know where the Wukong is, so just
Yeah.
going
A
for a not so.
lot of respect given over to Chelsea's Wukong there. That
Yeah,
I can definitely respect that. My solo cube range just was like, oh, Syndra R is gonna come through here any second. And the Ornn all-in comes through on top. Flash and ultimate will be used to secure the kill on that Gwen, but it is secure.
yeah, very good from Killer Rage there, getting that solo kill on Ornn.
And here is that level 6. This is why the Evelynn wanted to prioritize it, and that is a all-in on the bot side too. We've got a flash barrier out of the dragon to get away from the Evelynn and Syndra ults. And Wukong is gonna... Ooh, he just barely lives. Oh, he might get an all-in back in here. Nope, the Evelynn gets the kill. I thought the Aurelion Sol was gonna do enough damage, but... a lot of summoners used all across the map. We've got 3 summoners used on DTF's bot side, 2 summoners from the LCST bot side, and just about everything from mid and jungle.
Yeah, those last 2 minutes was full chaos from all 3 lanes. Starting off with Killer Rage solo kill, definitely empowered his team to be like, you know what, if he can do it, we can do it too. And you saw it there. They were able to secure the kill onto the Zyra. They do apply that pressure into the mid lane, and then like, oh, and they see that Wukong is not 6 yet. So they invade again after that mid lane pressure they created, pushing them under the tower with the amount of damage they were able to do and securing that kill. That level differential playing dividends, having that HP difference. And now she's going to that full clear again. She's 6. It's going to be off a cooldown. First dragon's coming up. As a Cloud Dragon, which team do you see placing priority on that early week dragon?
I think the LCST needs to give it some priority. They just need to get it off the map so they can start stacking useful dragons. The longer that goes uncontested, the happier DTF's going to be because they have some real late game scaling champions, and it'll give this Aurelion Sol a chance to close this 30 CS gap that has already started closing. It's down to 24 to 20 depending on where the wave's at this point. But the longer it goes, the better DTF's going to be. So
Yep,
I'd like to
absolutely.
see LCST be a little aggressive, especially now that the Evelynn ult is back up, the Ornn ult is back up. We've got buttons in every lane, and we've got at least 2 lanes with no summoners.
And we see it on the top side of the map right now. And with the ultimate, they're able to be stopped by the negation field on her W. But she's got there's a nice wave there pushing it in, maybe get another plate. But for those of you who don't know, Acel is Chubby's favorite champion, but it's definitely not his best. So just making sure that we can see him get online as well, show the true power of the champion that he loves to play. But right now we see the one trick Zyra having issues as well, and the Wukong is just being outmaneuvered at every point in this
absolutely getting destroyed here. The Evelyn ult to get out there. Gwen, I don't think you want to take this. Oh, I am very wrong. That Evelyn
definitely wanted to take it there. Able to give her a haircut.
Kills? Maybe? Nope, not quite. The Syndra shows up just in time.
Yep.
To save that Ornn.
Sunbear was on Syndra, was able to and then the Blitzcrank being able to get that silence is deadly. Having that silence there is really important because it prevents the Zyra getting her ultimate off.
My goodness, the Xayah though is still doing things.
Oh, we're gonna pretend we didn't see that, but really good trade kill there. Getting crit down. Just gotta keep that spacing out. He's gonna get that Q. Very good trade. The minions. He got hit by a stray minion for walking up too far to try and kill Banana. But really good getting that trade kill off. You got a shutdown, but the Blitz silence, keeping that Zyra from getting her ult off was key in winning that team fight there. And then moving back, Sunbear able to get that solo carry on the Chubby Hugs, which allowed Syndra to move up, support the Ornn, secure that kill on Gwen, because Gwen was winning that 1v2 hands down, and if not for that stun.
That sidestep big there from that Zyra, avoiding some Evelyn damage, rooting him on the way out. The Syndra's just gonna delete this dragon. Yep, that was the gameplay button there, right there.
Yeah, that's all she wrote in the mid lane, and we see the bot lane from the side of the LCST able to rotate and support there. Blitzcrank definitely able to jungle himself if he truly wanted to. Just getting the gank off, supporting it. He knows that Crit's got bot lane on lockdown. There's not much that Nightmare can do by himself.
Oh, that is quite the feather pull.
Oh.
And that is a dead crit.
It's a dead crit, but we see Gasha coming in here.
The Evelyn's here, the smite comes down, and the Zyra's running away. We see the root go wide, only hits the Blitzcrank, doesn't hit the Evelyn. The flash in for the charm and the Blitzcrank hook, and it is done. That is a dead Zyra. I don't think Wukong's going to get much here. He gets the Evelyn ult. That is not insignificant, but it is not the longest cooldown in the world either. It is only a 80-second cooldown at this point.
No, it looks like that LCST was able to keep their mental from that long game, game one. It's also beneficial that they won it, so they're going into this game with it with a lot more motivation. And you can see maybe on the side of the DTF they're not exactly untiltable.
It was such a good-looking game one, and then to lose it in one Baron throw like that is just... It's a hard place to bounce back from, and you can see that, Zyra does the damage, but it doesn't matter if there's 3 people and your 80 carries already dead. You just have to walk away from that.
Yeah, but it goes back to just not
Wukong feeling a need to make some plays from behind. He spends his flash and ultimate on that. He gets absolutely nothing out of the Syndra, and Gwen is just devouring this Ornn. She forces the Ornn ult and just ignores it.
Yeah, it feels really weird that we're not seeing any respect coming from DTF on the opponents here. Just walking in, no vision, forward. and just dying there. We're flashing
Oh,
in,
that is...
walking into their jungle.
That's a dead Zyra.
As strong as Zyra is, she's still the most damage she
And,
has being outputted is just that blasting wand.
and there is a quick all-in from Crit, and he just eats Nightmare.
Yeah,
That is
crit
a
critted.
Storm Razor with a BF sword to just a Kraken Slayer on that Zaya. It
Yep.
is looking rough here for DTF. Things are falling apart.
Yeah. Was what was not something that happened last game. You didn't see this early game. You didn't see the type of progression, those plays. But here we are, getting the first turrets, getting the early rift, and now we see finally at 60 minutes that first dragon coming across.
There are not many games where I see 2 turrets go down before the first dragon gets taken.
Yeah.
That's a little silver lining for DTF, but that gold graph is a stark difference. Everything is going to be on this Gwen, and I don't feel like Aurelian Soul is going to feel scaled and like a real champion until he hits at least 200 farm, which is 15, 16 minutes away based on how he's been farming right now.
There's just so much global gold taken that even though that the Orin looks like he's even in terms of game state, he's still ahead. And everyone else on the side of the LCST is at least 1 to 3,000 gold ahead, and it's oppressive. So this is one of those times where you hope like the internet goes out in your solo queue games so that you can be like, oh, I think we can win 4v5.
It'd have to be the right 4 though, right? You have to
You pray
make
Gosh
it
is
the
out.
Ornn.
you pray it's just Ornn and Blitzcrank at the end of this game. But here we go. You see that
hook
we're
onto
just
that
getting...
Wukong, the silence from the ult, and he is already dead to that satchel charge from Tristana. That was so fast, and this Gwen just gets melted. I can't even finish talking about one person dying before the next person's already dead. Look at that, Zyra proving my point. Zaya going down. Hey, we finally caught up. It is quite the fight here. Zaya actually lives with that Featherstorm. Trist can't chase. That's still gonna probably be another tier 2 turret for that Tristana. Ornn's definitely gonna get his. Aurelian Soul is barely holding on to this tier 2 bot. I really think Syndra could just step in and press R and take the turret if she wanted to.
Absolutely. And then, like, what's really interesting is that you see that the Ornn is now level 13. It's 18 minutes into the game, and he's already giving out his artifacts. So like, he's got his upgrade, and very soon he's going to be able to give out any other one else's. And he's got 3 prime choices of carries on his team. And as soon as he hits 14, the game's already over. We're at 11K, but just knowing that there's all these other options you can have.
Hook on the Zyra. There's a feather pull. We do get the Evelynn trapped up. The Gwen is immune, and he's chasing, trying to get some damage down, but the Zaya isn't following. The Wukong is going to go in. There's the Aurelian Soul ult. The Tristana does go down there. That is a one fight there, I guess? No, here's the rest of the fight. There we go. We have a Syndra ultimate coming out on the Aurelian Soul, forces him to back out. The Wukong coming in here on the Evelynn. The EQ combo is enough, but he goes down to that Syndra in response, so it is a bloody fight. And you got some shutdowns going over to the side of DTF, which is really scary with those scaling champions.
Yep.
You're still holding on to your tier 2s at 20 minutes, and they don't have 2 dragons yet, so
something to notice.
Really out. It's you're pretty out, but I'm trying to make this game exciting here.
That's exactly what you need from DTF. Just having the Fed people run into you unabated, without care, giving away that shutdown gold. They just needed it to happen at least 10 more times before we're at even gold here. And as good as it was to get those shutdowns, it all went onto that Wukong. It didn't go onto your carries, so you're still not going to be able to output a lot of the damage necessary once you are able to get a pick. Uh, hopefully you're not the ones being picked.
Yeah, we definitely would have preferred to see that. Oh my goodness, Evelyn just destroys the Zyra in a blink of an eye.
It was
Um,
so fast he wasn't able to get the Feather Storm off to protect himself.
and we've got the second round of ornaments coming through. Tristana has her evolved Infinity Edge, and that is just an amazing gold gap with a full 3 items. I'm sure going to be on that Tristana after this Baron.
Yeah.
To a 1 item and components. It is not looking good for DTF here. They're gonna get this Baron on LCST, all 5 members,
they're
and
running straight to Dragon. However, DTF was really slow on it, prioritizing those chickens rather than this giant turkey. But
yeah,
it's not going to bode well for him.
And Wukong is just dead to that. Syndra immediately presses R, doesn't even give him a chance to use his Trickster. And they walk away with the dragon and the Baron. If you're gonna contest that dragon, you need to go right away. You can't get those chickens on the way. That is a greedy play. I know you're behind and you need farm, but you either need to spend time catching up getting a dragon or spend time catching up getting farm. You can't choose both when you're this far behind.
Yeah, and it definitely went against him. He lost it. He traded his life for nothing, and then now here we are, inside of the LCST, just putting in oppressive vision control into that bot side jungle, and they just want to be able to take this tier 2 in the bot lane and then use that to transition into the bottom inhibitor, mid inhibitor, and
Yeah, you have Evelyn just waiting in lane for someone to walk up. Yeah, and it forces an immediate Xayah R, and it does not matter because the Evelyn answers with his own R. And
I feel sad
nothing you can
because
do.
Nightmare picked that ghost, but it's been 23 minutes, and I think he's used it once.
It's just not been an impactful summoner. It might be, something that the best players choose to use, but if you can't use it well, oh my goodness, this Gwen is popping off though.
Yeah.
Syndra goes down, the Gwen is killing people still, the Evelyn jumps in, and there is the gold lead. That 11-2 Evelyn just has the burst damage where Tristana apparently did not.
Yeah, the Evelyn's so far ahead. Gasha is definitely like MVP for this entire series.
It is such a great performance from this carry jungler. It is been an almost 50% CS lead and lots of kills and map pressure up in every situation. It's quite the performance. And
it's not to say that Deshels has been underperforming. He's doing what he can. It's just Gasha is able to impose his lead and knows where to strike.
He had 2 lanes that could give him priority to actually push his lead this time. Last time he had a Maokai who, he was really useful at soaking pressure and doing things late game with team fights, but he's never going to have a winning lane the way Syndra and Ornn can have winning lanes into these matchups. So that means he can invade
bot lane this game too.
Evelyn.
Yeah, with a 2-16 bot lane opponent, you're feeling pretty confident that you're going to end this game pretty soon. You see that these next major objectives, are going to come up within the next 2 minutes, and at this time, Ornn gives out his next ornament, and right onto that Syndra who did lose a lot of gold, especially a lot of gold value, dying and
That's
having
8
his
stacks Magi's instead of the 25 on Evelyn is real noticeable. But Evelyn might be losing it. Nope, never mind.
that
If
execute.
Wukong had had any help and not been alone in that death bush, they could have done something. But being alone into an Evelyn is not the play. You really need to stack up your players in a group, and they're doing it again. Zyra's going to go down alone here. Actually,
Oh,
the Evelyn gets caught there, but trading those Magi stacks for a inhibitor turret and an inhibitor, and presumably the third inhibitor, is not the end of the world. Oh, the hook goes wide on the Gwen, and I think we're going to see the LCST back away from this and just go prepare for that third dragon after denying all of the farm to Chelsea.
yeah, and this makes it really easy for the side of LCST. They know the side lanes are pushing in, so the only thing they have to focus is the NA ram down the mid lane. And then, yeah, but just being able to get that gold onto the Zaya definitely probably gives them a little hope. But you see, it's 26 minutes in. He just got his second item. You're looking really behind, and at this time, when the opponent team has 3 items going for their fourths, in some cases on the Tristana especially, you don't. And it probably doesn't feel good to know that not only are you behind for your starting week here at the draft series here at Risen, but not a very good showing either. As we see the LCST going for that third dragon, becoming tankier even, and that's not something you want to happen, especially with that Ornn on the other team.
Oh, an Ornn with a mountain dragon becomes absolutely unkillable. We do have a little bit of hope here. The Aurelian Soul Q is almost starting to outrange the Syndra stun. He's getting to 230 stacks here, so he needs, probably 50 to 100 more stacks, and then the game might be able to go their way, but I don't see him having a chance to get that with this Wukong going down here.
Wukong,
We have
Wukong out really far. Gwen
is
trying to do what he
interrupted
can.
there. The Gwen gets knocked up with the Zyra. The Feather Storm is going to just prolong his death. And I think we're going to see LCST just walk this right down. And Chubby Hugs is going to, walk away. He's not going to give over another kill unless this Blitz hits the hook. And he does, and that's a dead Chubby Hugs.
Yeah, and that is game 2 of week 1. Really good, strong performance as we transition to the end game here.
I'm excited to see more out of Gasha. I love the carry jungles, and I'm excited to see that get a match win this early.
Yeah, hopefully we can bring in our host and talk about a little bit more of the things that went wrong here on the side of DST, but also the things that went right, the adjustments that we had going into game 2 for the side of LST.
Yeah, so I think TLCST, I think that they adapted a lot better to this game too. And a big part of that has to do with the way they drafted versus the way DTF drafted. I think that was a big part of why this game was so one-sided. TLCST in this game, they've got champions with some very clear goals and strategies in mind. Especially the bot lane. The Blitzcrank Tristana is a very powerful duo bot lane because you hit level 2 and you're just all in. You get the bomb down, you jump on them, and you get a quick kill. And that's exactly what they did in this game. They drafted a much better duo and executed it much better. And the same can be said for pretty much all of the champions that they picked this game. The Syndra has a very easy time against the Asol because Asol to charge up, his dragon breath or whatever it is, he's either got to stand still or move in a straight line. And that makes it very easy for Syndra to line up her CC. So it makes the lane a lot easier for him. And on the top side, you just pick a nice big beefy champion. But this guy's got a pretty good lane compared to Maokai. He's got a bit more pressure, and that helps to unlock their jungler's potential. As we saw Gasha again run away with the game, and this time we were seeing a lot more aggression on all sides of the map. There were invades going down. There was a sizable number of ganks. And DTF's jungler was on Wukong, and he really can't do too much without his ult, right? We actually saw him, I think, one time in mid lane. He went for a gank, and he sort of beat up the Syndra, and Syndra just walked away from him.
Mhm.
So a large part of that is the draft. Actually think DTF's draft in the first game was much, much better. And the reason for that was because of how cohesive it was. Their ults all layered on top of each other. The Olaf could engage into a team. He could, I wouldn't say he could engage, like get a pick, but he could run into the enemy team and then the Galio can follow up. Then the Amumu can follow up. They all layer onto each other in a big team fight. The problem there was not the draft, but the execution because Graves was allowed to live long enough to just sort of clean up the fight after it was winding down, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that early pick on the Zyra in a all-in composition where you're planning to do those kind of wombo combos is a
Mhm.
great decision. The early pick on the Zyra when you are not picking for that and you're just doing it as a I trust this one trick to carry this lane, it becomes a lot more dicey because even if you do really well in lane, Zyra can't be alone into an Evelynn. That's just if that ever happens, you just start giving Evelyn Magi stacks at that point, and so you're choosing a matchup where you have to have multiple people to go get any kind of vision down. And if you don't send multiple people, you're basically sending one person to their death because they're gonna face check an Evelyn and won't know it until it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of this game it had a lot less to do with what happened in the game and some of the decisions in the pregame and the drafting because again you want to get that nice synergy with your teammates and what's really important in the early laning is the bot lane synergy and I just don't think Zyra and Zaya go very well together. You either want to play for a nice poke lane, in which case you can go for something like a Varus maybe or an Ezreal, or you just pair it with a nice safe long range marksman and you just play super safe and you avoid getting hooked by the Blitzcrank. Maybe a nice Ash game or Caitlyn or maybe someone with a dash like Lucian. But if you can't survive the early lane phase against someone who's just going to roll and roll and roll like this Blitzcrank in Tristana, you've got to revise something, right? You can't take Ghost every game and replace it, replace a combat summoner with Ghost, like you said, and then die early because if the game goes late enough, Ghost will have a nice impact on team fights. But if you're dying a bunch in lane, you just need to suck it up and pick a defensive summoner like a barrier or a heal, maybe
Or even a
exhaust.
teleport where you can just get down to 30% HP like he was doing, and then just leave lane and teleport to be right back with a full health bar. Like there are options for what you can do to not die early at
Right.
level one, level two,
Yeah,
and you should really explore those. I think that what we saw in the transition from game one to game two was a team who could identify their problems and use the next draft to fix those problems,
exactly.
and a team that couldn't.
Yes,
You saw, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
You saw a team that were like, "Oh, the Zaya's the problem, not anything else." So we're just gonna take that away. And you saw the Blitzcrank coming out immediately. We stuck with the same Zyra. It was super impactful in game one, but like uh, absolutely lackluster in game two. Was not able to make the same results come across. And to your points,
And
I
I
think
don't
the
think that's on the want marriage player either. I think that's based on the draft. He didn't have anyone who could follow up his utility. That's just them not picking to their own strengths.
Yeah, but you saw the Blitzcrank come in for game one. You got to assume it's going to happen again in game two. And then it did. And then we didn't adjust the thing. So I think it should have been a melding of both your points. You need the long range, the poke, the something that doesn't need to be up front. So like the Ezreal. And then getting that summoner, like the teleport. So you're just able to like be down there entirely. And you I honestly think that might have been the only choice available because of the Blitzcrank and the Tristana
Yep.
being taken. You have to be able to, especially since you're the one catching all the hooks.
Right. Yeah. Well, we saw some good things from both sides, but of course TLCST takes this series 2-0. A very impressive game two showing. We'll see if we've got an interview. Are they still around?
I
Maybe.
think we're just wrapping up. The player interviews are gonna start next week, hopefully.
All right. Yep, no interviews this week, but very impressive performance from Gasha, of course. I think he's this series MVP, but also a very dominant game two from TLCS2, um, making those adjustments, like you guys said, those improvements, and we're hoping to see a lot more of that throughout the season. Teams being able to adapt to what's going on, improve their gameplay, and win series in that fashion. But we'll be wrapping up here. Any closing words from either of you?
No,
I'm
I'm good.
excited to see these teams grow, and hopefully we'll see more fabulous carry junglers because I want more of that in my life.
Yeah, very nice showing from him. All right, this has been week one of the Draft League. These have been my casters, Dobby and Jake, and I am, of course, your host, Willie. And we hope to see you guys again next week for the Friday Draft League at the same time. See you guys.